So good afternoon again. And today we're going to start our essay writing segment. And yes, we're still under informative discourse. And so, yeah, this is just an introduction to essay writing. So, as is our custom, the word of the day is cadence. And cadence is used to refer to various rhythmic or repeated motions, activities, or patterns of sound, or to a falling inflection of the voice. Example, Stephanie relaxed at the beach, listening to the cadence of the surf. And our little did you know section? A cadence is a rhythm or flow of words or music in a sequence that is regular or steady, as it were. But lest we be mistaken, cadence also lends its meaning to the sounds of Mother Nature, such as birdsong, to be sure. So cadence comes from the Middle English, borrowed from medieval Latin's own cadentia, a lovely word that means rhythm in verse. And a cousin of cadence is sweet cadenza, which is a word that is familiar in the opera universe. Right. So last week, Thursday, we were talking about implied information. So this section would have been the last few slides from that topic. So we're just going to go through this and then go straight into essay writing. Right. So connotations versus denotations. Denotations are the dictionary or literal meanings of a word. So connotations are the feelings, emotions, or images associated with a word. Example, love can be defined as a deep or tender feeling of affection. That is the dictionary definition, denotation. But people can have different meanings for the word, which is the connotation. So, somebody can say love is a lie, love is a scam, whatever, or love is this, love is that. Those are the connotations that we put on the word itself, right? So colors, objects, themes, events, and ideas can all carry both connotative and denotative language. So let's say Black is associated with death and, darkness, gray, almost in the same line, but not as dark. We put different meanings on different words, even though people can say, oh, it's just a color, or oh, it's just a fruit, or whatever. We are the ones who put extra meaning, or we add our own experiences to a certain word or a certain experience. So with that being said, we can form a semantic triangle. So here in the triangle, we have the symbol or the word at the top, the connotation at one end, and the denotation at one end. So this is the semantic triangle. If you look up on the internet, you will see many different variations of the same triangle, but the embodiment of it is basically the same. So again, semantic triangle, but with love, as we were saying before. So somebody who has a negative view on love, whether it's from a negative experience, or maybe they just want to be logical in their own way, or if their philosophical mindset is against the idea, quote unquote, of love, they can say it's a lie, scam, deception. That is a connotation. But the denotation is always going to be love is a deep or tender feeling of affection. So are you understanding?
Yes, you are.
All right, good. So we have some more examples here. So we have 3 sentences. Maurice ignored the no smoking rule. Maurice disobeyed the no smoking rule. Maurice flouted the no smoking rule. So in a denotative sense, all of these words are synonyms. You can say, well, it still shows that Maurice does not care for the rule. But depending on how well the synonym is chosen, you can have different ideas of how the character in this sense, which is Maurice, felt towards the rule. So let's say ignored. It means that Maurice saw the rule or saw the sign and he just blatantly, yeah, he doesn't care about it, right? That's basically what ignored means. Then we have disobeyed. It's kind of the same thing, but disobeyed has a more, let's say, more negative connotation in this sense, which means that he willingly and yeah, he just decided he's not gonna follow the rule any at all. So you can ignore something and not really have any intense bad feeling towards it, but you can disobey something and it's more serious than just ignoring. And then we have flouted, and you might not know what this word means. So to flout something means to treat with contemptuous disregard. And here we see an even more negative meaning attached to the word, even though all of these three words are synonyms in some way, or they portray a similar kind of idea in these three sentences. So we move on to our next example. So we have the players' union should request that the NFL amend its pension plan. And then we have the players' union should demand that the NFL amend its pension plan. So here again, we have two different words, kind of related, but because of how they're used in the sentence, you can tell a different approach is being taken. So with request, that request is kind of a nice word. You're gonna go up to them and you're gonna be polite. You're gonna say, you need to amend the pension plan because it is unfair to the players. And yeah, you're gonna go up there nice and dandy and sweet. But with demanding now, it's much more serious. Like they're gonna go up there and they're gonna be laying down the rules, and yeah, it's gonna be more serious using the word demand. So here, in just these two examples, we see how using different words, even though the words are related, depending on which word you choose, it can change the entire feel or meaning of the sentence, if you get what I'm saying. So it's not just about choosing synonyms only or choosing words that relate to another word. You have to think about the atmosphere you want to display. You have to think about the feelings you want the characters to have in the situation if you're dealing with characters, or the tone, depending on your tone as well. For example, you're writing a letter to your principal, for example. Let's say you're writing a letter to your principal. You want to be more polite, you want to be more docile, agreeable. So you'd most likely use the word request in a letter to your principal, because you're trying to present yourself in a way where the principal can respect your decision as a student. I'm not saying that making a demand is disrespectful depending on the context, but depending on the tone that you want to have when you're writing, you have to make sure that you're choosing the right word and it correlates with all that you have going on in your writing. So are we good on that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good. So if you have any questions, you already know. You can stop me and ask me.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So we are at the introduction for essay writing. So it was in 1571 that the essay was invented by the French philosopher. Can't pronounce his name. I stopped doing French like 2 years ago. So he called his short philosophical writings, which were the products of moments, by the old French word essay, or as essay or whatever that is, which means attempt. So today, an essay is used to refer to a variety of nonfiction prose whose common purpose is to express a writer's viewpoint or opinion on a topic. An essay is made up of two major parts: the material elements, words, sentences, and paragraphs, and abstract elements, the purpose, audience, and strategy. So this afternoon, we'll be focusing on the abstract elements of the essay, and we'll leave the other elements to the grammar and mechanics unit, which we have those classes on Tuesday. Right. So understanding your own purpose, audience, and strategy. So understanding your purpose. The purpose of your essay is to present a coherent argument in response to a stimulus or question, and to persuade the reader that your position is credible, that is believable, and reasonable. The purpose is also the writer's intent and hopes for the essay. What you should get from a good purpose is a guide for choosing words, sentences, and details. Purpose gives us a point to stick to and a track to stay on when writing. Without it, an essay can seem pointless and unclear. As a student, you can ask yourself, what kind of prompt did I receive? Am I supposed to inform, interpret, or argue? Am I to compare, describe, or define? What am I trying to say? What effect do I hope to achieve? What is the main point I want to make? So again, as I was saying before, with your purpose, it's a guideline for choosing your words and how you structure your sentences. So going back to the example with a letter to your principal. You're writing a letter to your principal. Maybe the prompt is pretend your student comes to president or something. They always come up with those type of prompts. And you are to write a letter to your principal talking about different strategies that you can implement to better your school. Now, you're not going to be going up in that letter demanding things from the principal. No, you're going in there to make suggestions and requests. So again, you're going to be polite, you're going to be nice, you're going to be clear, you're going to state your points again clearly, yeah. You're going to explain why those things are issues. You're going to present your strategy. And you can even put in how it is affecting the students if you have enough words left to add in those things. But right, your purpose gives you a guide to how you are going to write, whether it's your essay, your article, your narrative, your poem, your drama, all of this. All of these things tie in together. And of course, if you're writing a narrative, you have to think about your individual character's purpose as well. So what do they want to achieve? What are they doing in a particular scene? Are they arguing? Are they explaining, etc., and all of those things. So here we have three different, we can say, headings of purpose. So we have inform, which means to transfer knowledge, interpret, which means to produce understanding, and argue, which means to assert and negotiate matters of debate. So under inform, we have classify, illustrate, narrate, or report, and cause and effect. Sorry. So in all of these, you are informing your reader or audience of what you plan to do. So to classify, put things into group, outlining shared qualities or characteristics. Illustrate, explain by using examples. Narrate again, or report, explain by telling what is occurring or what occurred, usually in chronological order. Cause and effect, explain by examining the origins of an event in relation to the results of it. And so under interpret now, we have analyze, which means to examine in detail, compare and contrast, which means to explain likeness and differences between two similar concepts, explain, reflect. Under argue, we have agree, assess, refute. So you will come across these words as prompts to tell you what you need to do, especially in English literature, I think, right? So we've seen these words before: explain, analyze, illustrate, classify, report. Yeah, all of these things you have met and you will meet again in the exams. So it's best that you understand what each of these prompts mean so that you know what you need to do to answer a particular question. And also check the marks of the question, yeah. Check the marks and see if you have to write more or less, because a 1-mark question, you're not going to write an epistle for it. And a 6-mark question, you're not going to write just 1 sentence for it. So check the marks as well, and check the words that prompt you to what you are to do. So here we have a little activity. And so it says, does this paragraph have a coherent purpose? Coherent meaning, is it clear? Is it consistent? Yeah. So I'll read. For many centuries, the color black has been associated with darkness, mystery, and death. However, in some cultures and symbolism, black represents wisdom, sophistication, and elegance. Some people refuse to wear black because they think the color is tied to evil. I like black because it is a deep, rich color that complements other colors. People should put away their superstitions when it comes to colors because they are just colors. We are the ones who put different connotations towards certain ideas and things because of tradition. Black is the best color. All right. So in approaching this paragraph, we're not approaching it as just a standalone paragraph. So imagine if this paragraph was the introductory paragraph of an essay. Would you understand what the essay is getting into just from this paragraph? Like, is there one main theme that it is saying it's going to discuss, or is there more than one? So you can answer.
I could say it's more than one. It seems like someone is discussing how black is important, and it's a disagreement between people about black colors.
Right, right. So we would say that this is not a coherent this paragraph does not have a coherent purpose. As you said before, it seemed like a back and forth. So you don't know, is it going to argue? Is it going to inform? What is it doing? We have no idea what this thing is doing. So to rectify this, the writer could outline the history of the symbolism of the color black, explain why black is the best color, and we know that this is going to be subjective because, somebody else can come and say, no, it's not the best color. Explain why some superstitions are connected with the color, assess an argument as to why color symbolism is necessary or not, explain why they like the color, and lastly, analyze the relationship between tradition, symbolism, and connotation. So there are many things that the writer could do to let the paragraph seem more coherent. And one of those things is just sticking to one purpose. When you're writing, stick to one purpose. Just as you have one main topic and one main idea that embodies the entire essay, stick to one purpose. If your main purpose is to inform. If your main purpose is to argue. If your main purpose is to interpret. So in an expository essay on the history of the symbolism of the color black, you would not want to be seen the person arguing that, oh, black is the worst color or whatever in there. That is not the purpose of the essay, right? The purpose of the essay is just to outline the history of the symbolism of the color black. That's it. So again, stick to one purpose. And with that being said, we move on to knowing your audience. So it is best to tailor your work to a specific audience, especially if you know something about the readers for whom you are writing. Present your work in a style and form appropriate to its readers. Think of questions to ask about your audience. So what is the education level, social status, occupation, gender, and ethnicity of a typical audience member? What do they know about my topic? What images and ideas do they have towards the topic you are presenting? What is your goal in writing for this audience? So again, I don't know if you have heard this, but most people say that when you're writing, especially in exposition, assume that your audience knows nothing about the topic. And with that in mind, you can put as much relevant information as possible in your essay so that the audience, after they would have finished reading, has got a holistic a general understanding, let's say that, a general understanding of your topic. Again, if you're addressing somebody, as I said before, with the principal, or a letter to the editor, or prime minister or president, you have to think of different ways to address your audience. So, of course, the way how you talk to the president is not the way how you would talk to your sister or brother or your friend. That is two totally different audiences. So you have to keep in mind, because of my audience, how am I going to present my information? Is it going to be more formal? Is it going to be preppy? Is it going to be informal, friendly, objective, subjective? We have all of these things to think about when writing for our audience. And you say, well, your audience is basically your teacher. Because, of course, when you write, your teacher is the one who's reading. But if you're giving a prompt and the audience is someone else, like, again, principal, I keep coming back to that, principal or whoever else, you write to that specific audience, and of course, your teacher is supposed to judge how appropriate your language and structure and everything is supposed to be. So just keep all of that in mind, and these questions as well. So I'm gonna cut it here and then we can rejoin, right? So, record. All right. So yeah, as I was saying, know your audience. If there's no audience, especially in expository writing, ensure that you write as if the person has no idea what you're talking about. Like they have no background information on your topic, right? And of course, we know that in expository writing, for the most part, or 99.9% of the part, it is objective writing. So, for what kind of audience do you think the writer intended in the following sentences? So this is from For Travel Gifting or For the Fragrance Obsessed, 15 Best Perfume Discovery Sets to Shop by Kia Merden on Vogue, November 2. And so it says, admit it, you've been convinced to try Baccarat Rouge 540, the body scent that's even earned Rihanna's stamp of approval. While its woody floral aroma has been dubbed universally flattering, you may want to sample other iterations like Reed Satin Mood or Aqua Celestial Cologne, which are concocted to promote the wearer's freedom of expression. So here we're going to use our extracting information skills, right? So you know that in extracting information, we can look at all of the clues that can help us understand what is happening, who the audience is, what the purpose is, etc., etc. So we know that one is by Kiana Merden on Vogue. The title itself, yeah, even from just looking at the title, we can see who the audience is set for. And then, of course, it uses a celebrity's use of a certain product to sell what it's trying to say. So you know that in this particular extract, the audience is for people who they love perfumes, they love fragrances, they might be wanting to give someone a fragrance, they want to get one to travel, or they're traveling to get one, all of these things, right? So just from these things alone, even without reading the extract, we can see who the writing is aimed towards. And you can feel the tone of it as well. You know, it's kind of friendly, it's kind of preppy. It is in the here and the now, the present day. It's modern. You know, Rihanna, everybody in this day and age almost knows Rihanna. So yeah, that's the audience for this particular piece. And of course, when you're writing, depending on your audience, you can change your tone, right? Your tone, depending on who you're writing for. So here, this writer, Miss Merden, she is very friendly, very, you know, what would you call that? It's like encouraging the person to try this because you would, if you liked the Baccarat Rouge, whatever, you're gonna like these as well, which is basically what she's saying. And so here we have another one. And the title of this one is Brain Changes in Autism Are Far More Sweeping Than Previously Known by Jason Millman on neurosciencenews.com, November 2. So, brain changes associated with autism spectrum disorder encompass more areas than previously believed. A new study reports researchers identified brain-wide changes in all 11 cortical regions analyzed. The greatest gene drop-offs were found in the visual cortex and the parietal cortex, a brain area associated with processing touch, pain, and temperature information. The findings shed light on sensory hypersensitivity associated with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Additionally, researchers say that the RNA altercations associated with ASD are more likely a cause than a result of autism. So, in this extract again, we can look at the title. Title, brain changes in autism are far more sweeping than previously known. Where is it published? neurosciencenews.com. From this alone, we know who it is aimed towards. So those who are interested in neuroscience, psychology, biochemists, medical doctors, all of these things, those who are versed in this scientific field or scientific subject, those who are interested in autism spectrum disorder and they know the biological terms and whatnot behind it, they would be the audience for this particular extract. And then from the extract itself, we can know that the person assumes that the audience knows what ASD means. They assume that they know what RNA means. They assume that they know the cortical regions, hypersensitivity, parietal cortex. This is the assumptions the writer makes of their audience. So they're not catering to somebody who has no idea what these things are. They're just writing for those who understand and know, because they're not going to just continuously write out autism spectrum disorder, or what is it? Ribonucleic acid. Yeah. They're not going to continuously write all of that out. And they're not going to explain what cortical regions are or visual cortex is and whatever. So again, by the writers' vocabulary, their tone, their purpose, we can get some clues towards who the audience is. And of course, when you are writing as well, you have to take into consideration all of these things. Your vocabulary, again, tone. How are you going to structure your sentences? Are they going to be long and drawn out? Because, you know, some people, especially in more, what do you call that? In more serious fields, let's just say that, not like casual as it is in school. They usually have longer sentences that, you know, a friendlier or preppier article. I don't know if you would have noticed that. Well, yeah, even with our friends, you might not just be writing one long old drawn out sentence. You're gonna, you know, take a break or send one sentence at a time, multiple times. I know. So depending on your audience, the entire structure of your thing changes. So, for example, let's say I'm writing an article on carbohydrates. If I'm just talking to somebody who is writing to an audience who just knows the basic carbohydrates, like, oh, carbohydrates, they give you energy, they're go foods or whatever. And I'm just writing simple like that. But if it is of an audience that are more versed in biochemical or biological terms, of course, I'm going to say carbohydrates, they're made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They're made up of hydrogen bonds. They can be branched or unbranched. Yeah, and all of these things, alpha linkages, beta linkages. If you don't understand what that means, then the audience is not, the writer did not gear their writing towards you. So again, depending on who you're writing to, the entire structure of your thing can change. And here we're at our last slide for the afternoon. So writing for your audience. Writers learn what their audiences expect and deliver it. If you are writing for a specific discipline, in a specific genre, to a specific person, or assuming a role, different syntax, vocabulary, assumptions, jargon, habits of expression, and styles/voice have to be used. Just as a text message to your friend would sound different from an email to your teacher, different approaches have to be made according to your audience, right? And so that would be what we are ending on this evening. And then next week, we will continue with strategies. So of course, the strategies include exposition, narration, argumentative writing, sequence writing, compare and contrast, cause and effect. And then, after we go through the different introductions for those, then we're actually going to get in writing your essay. So main idea, topic sentence, thesis statement, supporting sentences, and all of that. So yeah. Any questions?
Yes. So I was gonna ask, is this you didn't given broad topics for any subject?
If it,
Yes.
you were saying if the what I said is for any subject?
I was asking if this year they given a broad topics for English.
You mean in the English paper?
Yes.
Well, the thing is with the English, especially English paper 2 is where you're gonna do the writing. So you don't know what you're gonna get on that paper, but I know that you're gonna get a summary, you get expository piece, I think, argumentative. Yeah. So there's no set back to, I can't give you a full-on lay down of the questions. But I know that you're gonna get a summary, you're gonna get argumentative writing, you're gonna get an expository writing thing, and maybe narrative, but you just have to be prepared, because I can tell you this, and then it's not just in a basic essay setting. So you might have to write an article, you might have to write a letter to the editor, you might have to do a debate. None of us know the full-on format of that thing. But I remember when I was doing mine, which was 2 years ago, I did get a summary, I did get an argumentative piece, an expository piece, and something else. But I don't remember what that thing is. But yeah.
Thank you.